Hey there guys, Nervous Trading Cards. Today, going to be going over my very own card game creation I've been working on for probably about the past year and a half now at this point. But I've been working on it off and on, hasn't been like a full-time thing. But I have fortunately gotten to the point to where I basically have a working test build, and that's what this video is going to be going over, is how to play the game so far. However, you will know that I have a deck for all 10 of the starting archetypes that I have to kind of test the different play styles with the game so far, at least with what I have currently. Now, these are using images that I just took from Google Images to help play testing to make sure cards are easier to differentiate each other when you're playing with them here, but these images are not owned by me. Sure, I've done all the graphic design and everything, but the actual card art of the images, I don't own them. I try to, if able, let's see, like here, I try to, in the bottom right of the cards, give the illustrator credit if I could find it, but I can only find the illustrators like 60-70% of them on Google Images. So with that disclaimer out of the way, that is part of the reason that this build is going to be called the unofficial build, besides the fact that it is the test build right now overall. Now, like I said, do have 10 different test builds. I do actually have the full 145 card set here off to the side, as well as I have a quick starter guide and a rule book for you to also look at if you want to look at them yourself. The start guide does have a full visual guide to breaking down the cards and what they do in the different card types, which, well, since we're already here, I'll go ahead and go over them, because this game actually has 4 different card types. You have your monster equivalent, which is the Nexian, your equip card equivalent from like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Buddy Fight, which is the equip. You then have your spell cards, which are the casts, and your core crystal, which is a permanent you start the game with and stays here the whole game, and whenever this card would be destroyed by the card rules is when you would lose the game. So with that, let's go on ahead and talk about the actual rules and how to actually let's talk about the actual rules and how to play. So I do already have 2 decks set up here. These are right now the decks that are focused around the aggro red and the topaz yellow, which is going to be focused on, for topaz, or at least right now, it's going to be more of a combo focused. All your cards are sharing each other's abilities with each other, and based on your field formation, getting different abilities. While red is the pure aggro, it basically turns off the game's main quick play ability called Counter Strikes in order to gain a bunch of aggro and a bunch of strength, which also, if you look at here in the quick guide, will also end up telling you the different types of different strategies that everything's going for. So basically, when you're building your deck, you have 2 main things you need to be looking out for. First is your core crystal. You start by picking your core crystal, and once you pick the one you like, you then choose a deck that's of the same crystal type, which is indicated up in towards the top left under the card name, and you build your deck solely out of that type of crystal and quartz cards if you want to, which, let's see here, search. Yeah, so you have quartz cards here, which are your generic cards. They can be played in any deck unless your core crystal states otherwise, because sometimes your core crystals will have special deck building rules. There's not any here. That is something to look out for in the future. So once you get your core crystal, you build a 40 to 60 card deck with the same crystal type, and you just go from there. Now you do also have a 0 to 10 card or side deck for in between games, because this is designed to be a best of 3 game, because games can go by pretty fast with how things decide to go. But with that being said, let's get into the actual just gameplay to show you how this all ends up functioning. Go ahead and shuffle the decks up. So the best way to describe this game is Buddy Fight with Vanguard's defending mechanic and Duel Master shield mechanic. So basically, you begin the game by putting your core crystals face down into the core crystal zone below your energy zone. You then shuffle your decks up like I just did, then put the top 4 cards of your energy or of your deck into your energy zone. These are essentially shields from Duel Masters and Kaijudo and other similar games that use a shield based system. Dragoborn, or not Dragoborn, is it Dragoborn? I actually think it is Dragoborn. Yeah, the other card game that Bushy made that actually had a guy that worked on Duel Masters make. So you put them over here, and they're basically in your energy zone. These are your shields that keep you alive, as well as, so whenever you take damage, these cards will be added to your hand. Also, I guess like in Pokemon, similar to that, or but unlike in Digimon where they would go here, these actually go to your hand whenever you take them as damage. And whenever you would take a damage while you have no energy, your crystal gets hit and you lose the game. So after you shuffled your deck, you put your 4 energy cards over here. Oh, I don't know why I shuffled again. And then you'll draw 5 cards. Come on. Oh, probably help if I actually choose a color to play as. So then you'll draw 5 cards for your turn. And, not that shuffle did not go to the best. But, all right, go ahead and make sure this is shuffled. Put 4 energy cards over here. Here, come on. I guess orientation really doesn't matter technically. It's just for the visual of it. So let's see. Then go on ahead and draw 5 for this side. Boop, boop. Okay. So basically how you end up playing the game is once you now have, this is basically your starting field, you begin the game by both players flipping over their core crystals, and like in Vanguard, you do have the phrase, instead of stand at Vanguard, you just energize my soul, but of course, that is an optional thing, because it kind of is anime cringe. But whenever you're going first, you basically, at the beginning of your turn, you would typically you'd put the top card of your deck face down into your energy, and draw a card. However, the person going first does not draw a card. You then proceed to your standby phase, which is the main phase equivalent in most other card games. Here you can play any of your monster cards, any of your 5 field areas here. You can move them around, front, back, doesn't matter. You can use standby phase effects, which is indicated by a special icon, which if we get to it, I'll show you, and if not, I'll show you afterwards. You can also play spell cards that have the arena ability, which I do not have any in hand, which become permanents onto your field area. They're basically just, they take up one of your slots, but they are an actual permanent. They're like essentially a field spell in Yu-Gi-Oh! And then you also can equip cards from your hand to your Nexians on your field. You can also move a Nexian from your field into your clash zone. By doing this, you get an extra critical to your monster's attack power, which is indicated in between the attack and defense stat on the left of the card, with the attack, or the power in this case, as the game refers to it, being in red, and the defensive stat being in blue. So right now, I'm going to go on ahead and just play out Clashing Fangs Gladiator. This card has the ability Mandatory, which is what the M stands for. Condition: when another Nexian in your clash zone attacks till end of turn, this gets critical +1, which is what the diamond shaped icon is for. Now, since this is my only card and this requires another card, I could play another card out to get a card, but the person going first will only get to attack once, just like in Buddy Fighting and Weiss, which I guess technically these 5 slots are like Weiss. And so for that reason, I'm not going to commit my only other monster in hand right now. If I did, I probably would. But for right now, I'm going to save it for the sole fact that while this is a default critical 2, and putting him up there, give him a critical 3, he has, first off, cost and energy to play him, which means I discard one of my energies into my shard pile, which is my graveyard drop zone equivalent, whatever you want to call it. But he also has the ability that he can pop a low-powered card on attack whenever he attacks, which is really good, and I don't want my opponent popping it before I get the chance to pop their stuff. So I'm just going to call out the Clashing Fangs Gladiator. Now, during your main phase, like I said, you can once per turn either move a Nexian in or a Nexian out. You can only do these actions once per turn. By doing this, like I said, you'll get an extra critical +1 while that Nexian is there, but there is an ability called Counter Strike, which some cards will have, which can be used at any time as long as the cost and condition is met. By doing this, you turn off your ability to use Counter Strike, but right now Red only has 1 Counter Strike in set 1, so they really don't care. This is their whole play style of just Oonga Boonga, I'm going in. So now that I have done what I want to, since these other cards here are based on, here's actually a standby phase effect. So this S that is on the beginning of this effect here, that means standby phase. You can activate standby phase effects during your standby phase from hand or field by paying their condition if their cost is met and paying their condition. Now, this card is about destroying an opponent's monster. This card's about destroying an opponent's monster. This card's about destroying an opponent's monster. So we're just going to hold on to all that and swing in. So now I come swinging in. I have 4,000 attack power and 2 critical since I'm in the clash zone. Now my opponent can choose to either take this damage or they can decide to guard. Now, you have 2 different options when attacking. You can either choose to attack an opponent's Nexian on their front field area or in their clash zone, or you can choose to attack their core crystal. By attacking their field, you know you're essentially controlling their field, but attacking their core crystal is how you deal damage and try to win. So how you'll balance that out is completely up to you, your playstyle, and what calls you want to make. And this is one of my favorite parts of this game, is the fact that you can choose to just attack the opponent directly or attack their field, which you'd be like, why wouldn't I just want to attack them directly? And that's simply because by attacking them directly, you are fueling their hand, giving them more resources. So sometimes it's best to try and control their field, then try to blow out their energy before trying to go in and just kill them all. Now this is red, so it is rather straightforward. I'm just going to punch you in the face. Well, it's ruby technically, but it's red for your card game equivalent. Now, whenever you are being attacked, you can choose to guard with any card in your hand that has a defense value by placing it in the clash zone as a defender. It is now considered a defender card, not its actual card type. Like here, this is a monster called a Nexian. That's like I said earlier, the monster type of this. Well, while it's here, you disregard the Nexian attribute. It is just a defender, and defender's abilities of cards that are defenders do not activate unless the ability says otherwise. So that's the stopping and kind of weird problematic interactions. So unless you have an ability that specifically states it activates while it's defending, you won't have any abilities activated while defending. So let's say I want to guard with this. This will then put me up to 3,000 defense, because whenever you're attacking a core crystal has a defense of 0 by default. Now abilities can modify this, but there's only one right now, and it's only for the turn. So this will come in for 3,000 defense to my 4,000 attack. Now he can choose to guard with more cards in his hand, or he can just choose not to guard this and take this, which, since this is the first turn, usually a lot of times it's just so you can build up hand, it is going to be the better option. So he adds the cards to his hand. 1, 2. Ooh, sweet. I can already show this off. So this is a counter burst. When you add a card from your energy zone to your hand by damage, if it has the counter burst ability, you can reveal the card and then discard it to activate that counter burst ability. But unfortunately, this counter burst is to basically play an equip card from my deck to one of my cards that I control. And unfortunately, there's nothing on my field to control, so I'm just going to keep it in my hand. Alright then. And so now they're down to 2 energy, and I will end my turn. They will start their turn by charging 1 and drawing 1. Now they can play any number of cards to their 5 field areas. Or they can equip cards, or move a Nexian to the equip zone, move their cards around, or play an arena spell to their place, or activate a standby effect. And so, you know, this is all your setup before you go into battle phase. Now, this deck is based on formation and keeping things together and having a full field. Like this card says, while it's on your center front field area, if you control 2 other gold or silver cards on your front field areas, this card continuously gets power plus 2,000 and critical plus 1. So if I play him here, and I play 2 other cards, like let's say Regis here, and another Regis, these cards have the ability when your other gold Nexian on your center front field area attacks, this gets power plus 3,000 until end of turn. You can tell what's a gold card because right below the name you have the traits, which when an effect refers to the traits, it will have the triangle parentheses, as you see here, where it says when your other gold card on your center front field area is attacking, then this gets power plus 3,000 until end of turn. And so he has a Humo Gold. This guy's a Humo Gold. Those are the traits. So when this card attacks, these will get their trigger abilities. Now, I can go on ahead and play to the back row Lou here. This is actually a great showcase of what the back row is for. This card has the standby phase ability that I can deplete him, which means to tap him, rest him, whatever card game you want to. I can either search my deck for a Lucius and add it to my hand, or I can choose one Lucius on the field and give it power plus 2,000 until end of turn, which I think I'm going to go ahead and just give the power plus 2,000, so he's sitting at power plus, so he's sitting at 5,000 power. But since he's on my center front field area and I have 2 other gold or silvers on my front field areas, he gets another 2,000 power in critical plus 1, so he's sitting at 7,000 power with 2 critical. When he attacks, these will be sitting at 6,000 power, 1 critical. Now we have these here, which are equip cards, which I can go on ahead and equip by attaching them under here. I'm going ahead and equip this to both of them. What this shield does is that whenever it's an equip to a Nexian, when this card would be shattered by an opponent's ability, when this card would be I actually need to fix that. It's supposed to be when the equipped card would be shattered by an ability, you can shatter the shield instead, which means when a card is shattered, that's the term for destroyed, which means it goes to the shard pile. Now here's also an arena card. So whenever I would play this cat, normally whenever you play a spell card, which you just reveal to show that you are playing it, after it resolves you go to the shard pile. But arena cards you play, and they stay on one of your field areas. You can also move them around your field area and stuff during your standby phase as well, but here we're just going to play it. So this card says arena. As I just explained, you can play 20 of your field areas and it stays there and it's just treated as a permanent on your field. Then this card also has the unique ability since you can only control 1 copy of this card at a time. Controlling means anything between your 5 field areas and your clash zone. And its ability is continuous, which is what the C icon is for. All your gold and silver Nexians you control get power or defense plus 1,000. So all these guys are going, this includes the defenders as well. Or not the defenders, this includes, sorry, this does include, it just means that these guys here in the front row. Because if I were to instead of attacking the core crystal, attack one of their front row guys, I would then compare my defense to their attack, and then you would go into the guard step. So, with that being said, we're going to go on ahead and swing in. Because of the plus 2,000 from his own ability of having the front row, and the plus 2,000 from the back row Lou, he is now sitting at 7,000 power and 2 critical. Now, because he's attacking, these will both go up to 3,000 power, so they're sitting at 6,000 power for this turn, as well as this will continuously be giving all my gold and silver Nexians defense plus 1,000, so they all are sitting at 4,000 defense. So with that coming in, I can choose to either guard this with a 0 defense card, or let it through. I'm letting it through because I don't have anything. Alright, sweet, counterburst. Oh, but unfortunately, they just got their power plus 3,000. This counterburst says, choose an opponent's Nexian, or choose a card, shatter a card your opponent kills 3,000 or less power, must have power to shatter, so it has to be a Nexian. However, that being said, I can't shatter this loose, so we can't use it next turn. So now that I revealed this, now that I've added this counterburst to my hand, I can reveal it to my opponent, and then discard it to activate its ability, which will then shatter this card. But I now have to take the second damage since it was a critical. Nothing there. Now this card will end up coming in for 6,000 power. I will also take it. Goes to my hand. And then here comes another. And he will also come at me. And oh man, this shuffling was not done well. This is a problem because a lot of these cards are wanting me to pay energy when I don't have anything. So with that ends the turn. So it'll then go to me. At the beginning of the turn, we stand all of our depleted cards. Which depleted means to be rested, like I said before, and energized means to stand. And draw a card. Ooh, this is actually really nice. So this card says if I were to counterburst it, my core crystal would actually get power plus 2,000 for the turn, which is really good. But also, if you have a Nexian in your clash zone, this gets intercept. This is very nice because intercept says basically you can defend with it from the field instead of just from your hand. Okay, so, but at the end of the turn, these, now go back down to power plus 3,000, however, since there is still 2 others in the front field, he is getting power plus 2,000. Now then, but with that being said, I'm going to go on ahead and pay 1 energy to play out Nimbu, a true Wraither. I'm going to go ahead and pull him out and put him in. Now, whenever you are playing your cards to your front row, you can only have 3 cards 3 Nexians in total between your front row in your Clash Zone to basically limit you to 3 attacks per turn, unless you have abilities otherwise. And for convenience sake, I'll go ahead and just move this over here. Now we have the full-on power. He actually had me, and I really wasn't looking good, but now I have pretty much everything I need. And what I can actually do is, let's see here. See, this says deplete a Nexian to shatter 1 card in my opponent's backfield area. Ooh boy. But then I can also just pay 1 energy, which would be great because this card can actually, since it can shatter a card in the opponent's back row area, it can actually destroy this. But as you can see, this is normally a counter burst. However, it does also say at the end of the effect you can normal cast this by the cost of depleting a Nexian, which is, really good. But I can actually, like I said, just go ahead and pay 1 to pop 1 of these, as well as whenever he attacks, since there will be a Crimson Beast in the Clash Zone, which is now him, we can then pop another 1 of these to go on ahead and control the field. And I think I'm going to go on ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead, reveal this cast, play it, pay 1 energy to go on ahead and actually, I'll go ahead and just shatter here the center boy. And then I'm going to come on in his ability. He ends up shattering this, and he's coming in for a 3 critical. And whenever another Nexian in the Clash Zone attacks, he gets critical +1. Now, he sadly doesn't have what he needs to be able to properly make things happen, so he takes damage. He does have a counter burst here. Well, first off, I'm going to use the shield here, since the ability would shatter him, the shield would end up going away, so he would actually stay on the field. And actually, I thought this was on the other one. Or, yeah, that's why, yeah. So, shield ends up shattering that instead because it was shattered by an ability. And now I have this, which I can then discard after the first damage because you resolve each damage 1 at a time. And search my deck for another. Just go on ahead and search my deck for another equip spell and equip it to the appropriate target. Here we go. Here's another shield. Alright, so now for the second damage, that will just simply go to hand. And for the third damage, that will simply go to hand. Now, let's see. So we have a 3,000 and a 1,000. So this comes in here for 1 damage. Wait. Knights of Gold. If you control... Oh yeah, so this card's core crystal says if you control 4 or more gold Nexians, your Nexians can't be depleted by your opponent's card effects. I'm just doing shattering. This core crystal says whenever a Crimson Beast I control is shattered, I place it under this as face down, and then, which is mandatory, and then activated, which activated means that as long as the condition is met, you may pay the cost, or you may activate the effect. If you want to activate conditions are solely optional if the conditions and costs are met. I can then send all cards from this to your shard pile to give the attacking card plus 1,000 until for each card sent for that battle. And then so we come in here, so we have a 5,000 attack, or let's say we come in with this first. So this comes in for 4,000. Now we have a 3,000 and a 1,000. Now, by doing this, we could guard it, but that would only put us up to 4,000 to 4,000 to 4,000, so it would still penetrate through. This is like the big rule I'm considering back and forth on whether or not your defense, as long as it matches, will protect you, or if you need to exceed it, like in Vanguard. But, that's definitely going to be one of the big balance rules that we end up figuring out, is whether or not just matching shield is going to be worth it. But that being said, if he did end up surviving this turn, I would have had nothing, and he would have come in and killed me. Now this side definitely didn't have everything it absolutely needed, personally. It definitely could have had a lot more going on. I actually thought this deck was going to win the fight. It's just simply that I had everything I needed to be able to do the hardcore punch, go punching in, and have a good time. But with that being said, that's the basic gist of the game flow so far. And like I said, the big rule that we're going to be trying to change after testing, which if anyone wants to come and test, or hopefully the link should be down below in the video description, to where you can just come and play this table anytime. and comment down your results on what you personally think. I'm going to be finding some people online to help me test this, because like I said, it's only been me so far, and I keep being 50-50 if I want the defense to be greater or equal or greater to be able to defend the situation. Because I mean, even if it was equal there, I still would have had the extra attack to come in and poke. But there's actually one important thing to note. So let's say, because this was a 3 critical attack, right? Let's say that he only had 2 energy. This attack would not kill him, because by the rules, you have to deal your opponent damage while there was already while they already had 0 energy left. So me hitting this 3 crit attack, he would take the 2 damage, but the third damage would not resolve. I'd then have to come in for another damage to come in to try and kill him. That's kind of like the safeguard measurement to help against OTKs. But you know, this deck is literally designed to just go balls to the wall. OTK, I'm bad, I'm here. Let's do this. And unfortunately, its counterbursts here weren't the best. It only actually got to activate 1, and it really didn't do anything in this situation. And there's other defensive cards in there, but yeah, sadly, that's how it goes. And that's also another thing, is that if you don't have enough monsters, maybe you do want to play more monsters to try and let out the spells. There's a lot of deck building options with how many monsters you want to have in, and even some spells actually have defense on them. Let's see if I have any of them in here. Actually, this deck actually has a bunch of counter strikes. Like, this deck actually has a bunch of counter strikes to stay alive. That's the sad part. And then, like, this can be, when your core crystal would shatter, you choose 1 gold next and you control, shatter all other cards you control, and discard your entire hand. But but you can only cast this once per game, and it stops it from shattering that one time, which would have been great, because you can actually use this while you have no hand, or as long as you have a gold Nexian on the field. That's your only bare minimum requirement. But some spells will actually have defense on them. It's mostly counterbursts that don't have alternate play costs, but there are some spells that have shield on them. And even in this other silver deck I have here, because that was the gold focus deck, this is the silver focus deck, there is one defensive card that's actually a recurring card, which is actually pretty cool. Let's see if I actually have it in here. Yeah, right here. So this card right now, I only have limited at 2 copies, because it is a generic card within the color. Because while I have restricted a lot of the main strategies to, you know, the stuff, there's actually still a lot of good generic cards in each of the colors, because that's the way I want to design it, to where the actual core strategies are still restricted to themselves, but everything else is generic, so that you can keep building off it in the future, because you are restricted to just 1 color overall. But this is a 3000 defense spell, so where it's just a spell. But it says whenever a next game in your center field area would be shattered, you add this back to your hand as dimming, which means after you defend with it, or at the end of your turn, you discard it. After it's played in any way, or at the end of your turn, you banish it. I might bump this back up to 4, but right now I thought that might be a bit abusable, so I just had it at 2, especially because gold also has a lot of ways to actually stay alive. It just didn't see them this game, and that's why this is a best of 3 game, and you have a 10 card side deck for that reason. And then, like I said, so we got 10 different strategies here. You have the start guide and the rulebook, although there is probably going to be a few typos, because I've been trying to just bang this stuff out from the past few days, trying to get it ready all together, because I have a bunch of other schoolwork and stuff coming up, so I just kind of wanted to get this out as much as possible. But right now, like I said, got 10 archetypes, 10 different core crystals, and each core crystal is kind of designed specifically for the archetype, but they're also kind of generic. Like, both of these are just involved within the spirit cards, which both builds end up using, so you can use those back and forth. While this is restricted to 1 archetype, the other isn't, so some core crystals are going to pretty much be restricted to archetypes, some aren't. The more powerful ones will be archetype restricted. But yeah, overall, I've been enjoying the game so far. I like I said, we need to do some balancing, because I've only been testing by myself, and honestly, testing by yourself for a whole new game, you really need other people's opinions on what's too strong and what's not, because what's fine for you is probably not going to be fine for everyone. So that's why I am hoping all of you guys come by and help me with this testing. Come in and play yourself, give your thoughts and opinions, give suggestions on what you would like to see or what changes might end up happening. I might even change some for some core rules, like I said, even with like the defense power, even having the match, or we might start with 5 energy instead of 4. I don't know, but like I said, it may not look as bad because you do have more defensive decks like blue and green that will end up hopefully not making things as bad going on. But there is also, but you're also not even having just bad color cards, because you do actually have the quartz cards, which are also pretty decent. So like right here, you have a once per game. If you have 0 energy, you can discard your entire hand and draw 3. It's a +2 for free. But you have the 0 energy, you can only cast it once per game. That's a card everyone has access to. This card gives you the long range ability. Long range, what it ends up doing, says that you can choose an opponent's, whenever you're choosing an opponent's attack target, you can choose the front or the back, because right now you're restricted to only the front. And so that's also just a generic card. You're technically going -1 to equip that, but if your deck doesn't have the ability to control back row, that's also a generic card. This card's a 4,000 defender on its own. It's a nice little decent chunk of shield. This is a 6,000 attacker with 0 defense, but that's a pretty high power. And then you also have this pretty neat shard pile card, which is a standby phase effect, to where you can add the top card of your deck to your shard, from your shard pile to your hand. Then you discard 1 and banish this card instead of sending it to your shard pile. So there's definitely a lot to work with here, and there's even cards not in these decks here in the first set. So come check them out. Come on over. I really want to see what people think about this. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Keep playing the games you want to play, and hopefully come play mine. Self-insert for the whole video. Yay! Sorry if it seems like I'm also low energy. I'm having to stay quiet right now because other people are sleeping. Thank you guys for watching. Come play. Yada yada. Give suggestions, give critique, give comment. That's why I'm here. And, yeah. See ya.